Hello, George. Robert Englund here. I'm the actor that portrays Freddy Krueger in the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise, and this little pep talk shout-out is courtesy of your buddy Dan. So I understand that you might be the last remaining Nightmare on Elm Street viewing virgin in the entire Western Hemisphere. Well, as Freddy might say, better late than never! Well, anyway, that all ends apparently this coming Monday. So pop that popcorn and reheat that leftover pizza from Saturday night and welcome to my world, bitch!
It's the Remedial Field Class Podcast. Travis and George and Dan. They're the Remedial Field Class Podcast. Take your seat. It's time to begin.
Welcome back to the Remedial Film Class Podcast. I'm your host, Dan.
And I'm Travis.
And I'm George.
And George just met the man of his dreams.
Hey-o!
You're so corny. That was a good one though. Actually, at first I was like corny, and then I'm like, no, it's good, man.
I mean, we
like
probably
that
ought to
one.
give you like another day or two to see if he creeps up in your rim cycles before we really declare him, man of your dreams. But here we are, the night you watched A Nightmare on Elm Street. How you doing, George?
Fantastic.
How's things, Travis?
Wonderful. I just took a bath before we came over, and damn it if those knives didn't come up through my crotch. I hope that doesn't happen to George. That's why I was late.
You were almost fell victim to.
Yeah.
You were almost one of the hundreds of people who die sleeping in the bathtub.
Yeah, it turns
every
out
year.
I asked my children to empty the dishwasher, and that happened. So, yeah. I'm like, why are these knives in the bathtub?
Those bastards.
Son of a bitch.
It's what you get for trying to make your children do manual labor.
Yeah. That's what you get for trying to take a bath at 7 o'clock at night.
True.
Now, George, you have seen Freddy vs. Jason.
A very, 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 very long time ago.
So you had
Yes.
a basic idea of what to expect. Did this movie live up to your initial expectations?
I was actually pretty much what I expected. Yeah.
It's a totally different Freddy.
I mean, did it live up to my expectations? Yeah. Yeah. I didn't expect much, but yeah, it lived up to my expectations.
what I noticed was, even though this is one of those nostalgic Travis movies. Like, if I were to watch this for the first time today, after watching other movies, it struggles. I don't think it holds up with today's standards.
No.
Sarcastic
That's
George has entered the building.
Sarcastic.
But for what it is, it's necessary. It's a necessary movie
Sure.
to watch. Because without this movie, you don't get probably 100 other movies. Probably more than that. And a
Now,
couple
George,
Jell-Os.
I have a feeling that Mr. Robert Englund might need a progress report. How are you enjoying his world, bitch?
Bitch.
Who is Robert Englund?
Oh my God, the guy who
Is
sent
that
you
the
the
actor that
video
plays-
message that was like, "Welcome to my world, bitch."
Oh yeah, he plays
He plays
Frederick.
Frederick. Frederick
Frederick.
Krueger.
Frodo Krueger. This is a crossover with the
It's
Lord of the
Frederick.
Rings.
It's Frodo.
It's Frederick Krueger.
Get out of my dreams, Sam. Or would you say Fredo? You said Frodo, right?
No, I said
Different impression.
Frederick Krueger,
Kroger.
like the
He has a good
grocery store.
supermarket.
Yeah, he attacks
Yeah.
you with fresh vegetables and not with knives.
And low ass prices,
What's funny is the
bitch.
the cameo was the new Freddy, not the old Freddy. Like he's at 11 in that cameo.
Yeah, there wasn't a
But
lot
you
of
Right.
screaming in this one. It's more mocking than it is.
Yeah, you don't get that Freddy till a couple years. Yeah.
I actually really dig this movie up until a certain point. There is a moment I can point to after which I don't care for this movie. But it's right at the end, and then the rest of it's good.
Yeah.
And I really dig this movie.
Wait, can I guess what it is?
Yeah.
Is it when mom is absorbed by the bed?
Yeah, there's a moment where he throws the blanket on the burning pile of Mom and Freddy.
Mm.
And I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, just stop. I love this movie. And then if it plays a second more, I hate this movie. What the hell?
I have an issue kind of like you did with The Exorcist. Like, I friggin' love this movie. It's perfect until he comes to the real world. And that's where they lose me. Because obviously it's hard to grasp that as a real thing without introducing any other supernatural things in the movie.
I find it hard to tell what is real and what is a dream.
True.
So I'm thinking real world, and then I'm also thinking maybe not.
Well, it goes along the lines of Poltergeist. Like, if other people are saying it, then it is happening. It's not an illusion done by Freddy or the ghosts or whatever.
Right. But we're talking about the last scene when she hugs him and her alarm goes off
Mm-hmm.
and he's in the real world now, right?
Yes.
That could theoretically just be a continuation of her dream.
It could be, because when she says, "This isn't real, you're not real," and then he dives at her and he disappears. So she either A, takes away his power here, or he was never actually really here.
You know, there's a thing where the most dangerous parts of flying an aircraft are takeoff and landing.
Yeah.
And nobody walked away from this movie. Is what I'm saying.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah, because even if they felt like all this stuff was good, then they ruined it with the mom through the portal at the very end.
Oh my goodness. The stinger on this movie, very blunt, not full of venom.
Yeah.
It's a bad stinger, is what I'm saying.
It's a bad stinger. I'd do my stinger scream, but I don't want to blow people's ears out.
Just go to the back of the room.
Did you say hair? I don't want to blow people's hair out. Is that what happened to you, Trev?
Yes, that's exactly what happened.
Someone did their stinger scream on you?
Whatever. Welcome to prime time, bitch.
God, there are some really good moments in this movie, though, but it is hard to ignore the. I mean, you know, you just watched it. Your most recent impression is formed by the last 10 minutes of this movie. Where what?
He has notes.
You have notes? Ooh,
I do have notes.
it's been a
He took
while.
Notes.
Let's
It's
hear
been
some.
a while.
Let's hear some noties.
I want you to sing the notes.
No, please.
No, don't sing them.
I'll scream the
We're
notes.
not far enough into the episode to get weird yet.
A dramatic reading. Nightmare on Elm Street. George's notes.
You need some theme music here.
First note. When we recast this movie today, John Mayer is Glenn.
Okay.
Huh?
Doesn't that motherfucker look like John Mayer?
I mean, he's got that weird poofy 50s haircut in the middle of the
Yeah.
80s, but John Mayer doesn't have a poofy haircut. He just has brown hair.
I know, but
I
if
think
you
you've
gave
got
him a
Mayer
poofy
on your
haircut-
mind, dude.
I think that you need to take a picture of Mayer and take a picture of Glenn and put them side by side and put it on social media and be like, is this the same motherfucker? And see what people say.
Does George
All
know who plays Glenn?
He looks
thinking
really
not.
he looks really familiar.
All right. When we watched Friday the 13th,
Yeah.
there was a one person in that movie that sticks out.
Which Friday the 13th?
The very first one. Yeah. He actually has a kill named after him
On our show. It's not
on our show.
It's not official, but we were going to make
Reverse Luge?
a cartoon of the...
Oh.
Who's the major celebrity in Friday the 13th? One takes it through the throat.
Bacon?
Yes, Bacon. So this movie has that kind of character, that kind of person in this movie.
And that's Glenn?
Yeah, and his name's not John Mayer.
What's his name?
Mr. Depp.
That's Johnny Depp. Shut the fuck up.
Oy vey.
Shut the fuck up. That's Johnny Depp.
That is Johnny Depp.
Holy fuck.
Which is why
Jesus.
the casting of Skeet Ulrich in Scream is so good, because he plays the Johnny Depp character and he's basically Johnny Depp. He's a poor man's Johnny Depp.
Okay, that's all well and good, but this motherfucker is Johnny Depp though.
That's Johnny Depp. Yeah.
Yeah. This is
I
like,
didn't-
is this
Was this his
21 Jump
first
Street?
movie?
This is his first movie, I think.
Dude.
I think he was on 21 Jump Street, but I'm not sure.
Dude.
I'd have to Google that.
No, that was after. That's two
This
or
is
3 years
after
later. Yeah. The
Okay.
21 Jump Street is
Was
from
after
87
this.
to 90.
Oh, okay. Yeah, this is 84.
Well, that's cool. Johnny Depp
Yeah.
looked like John Mayer when he was younger. Cool.
Glen.
Okay, so this is the first movie that I listened to. I had a different setup for this movie than I normally have. I normally have my couch, my TV, and my sound bar. I didn't do that this time. I went headphones this time. And I think this was the perfect movie to do headphones
Yeah,
on.
it makes everything scarier.
The sound
Mm-hmm.
in this movie, I don't know if it was just my setup was like that much better, or if the sound in this movie is just really good.
It's good.
Just like the sound effects and the music and the soundtracks and like just it's good, man.
Well, it's purposely made to kind of be in a theater where you hear the nails screeching behind you, then they're on your left. Like if you're sitting in the movie theater, Jurassic Park did this really well with digital. Like you almost hear the dinosaur run around you.
Yeah.
Like you'll hear it on the right side speakers, and it goes behind you, and then
Yep.
the left side. So this movie back then in the theater, I'm assuming because I was only 9, was that way. Like you just hear that screech around you, all the speakers. So I'm assuming listening in your headphones was probably really sweet.
like when Nancy's in her bedroom and Freddy's throwing rocks at her window.
Freddy or Glen?
No.
Freddy's throwing rocks at her window.
Yeah, and like a rock gets like
Does he hold up a boombox?
yeah. No. There's like a rock that gets embedded in the window.
Okay.
And it was Freddy, right? Because I think he was saying her name too. Anyways, doesn't matter. When the rocks hit the window, it's like everything, all the sound is happening in your like right ear
Mm-hmm.
when like you're watching the scene, and then when the rock goes tick, it's like boom, left ear.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, oh, it's over there. It's over. It's the window. It's over
You
there.
should probably watch a couple other movies that we've already watched with headphones on.
I probably should. I'm never going back now.
Yeah, he's never going.
You got to get those like 7.1 simulating headphones so you can hear behind you and in front of you too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good shit.
Yeah, but the music was good too. Like it kind of rocked.
It's got a cool aesthetic, man. It's like kind of a nursery rhyme, kind of hell, in rock
Yeah.
and rolly, and yeah, it's good.
Yep.
It's a very good score.
It was like a what was that movie that you showed us? It was a really weird movie that when shit was going down, it was like hardcore rock and roll that was like
Phenomena.
blaring.
Oh, Phenomena, yeah.
Phenomenal.
Okay, yeah, Phenomena. It was like a classy version of
Mhm.
that. You know, where like the rock and the beat, it was like it was there, but it was there because like Freddy fucking rocks.
Right.
That's why.
Well, it's cool how they kind of show you in the beginning. You can completely tell what's dream sequence, what's not. Like they purposely
Yes.
make the girls jumping rope. Everything's in slow motion. They're
Yep.
singing. It completely looks like a dream. And then the further you get through the movie, when she realizes who he is, she sees him in her dream. She sees him in the boiler room. She takes his hat. Everything just kind of meshes.
The
and
lines
then you
get
don't-
very
yeah,
blurred.
blurred.
Yes.
Like that scene in the alleyway.
There was a bunch.
I
Which
love
one?
that scene where he like is standing at the end of the alley and then he like stretches his arms.
The arm
Mhm.
stretch is awesome.
The arm stretch is awesome. I really honestly wish they would have spent more money on that because you could tell it was just him holding fake arms. But it's like it's such iconic thing that you would probably see in your dreams. Like I've had that dream even before I've seen this movie. Like it's just one of those things.
Yeah,
That-
that's exactly like some shit that you would. Yeah,
Absolutely.
exactly.
Well, and then
Good
his
shit.
line, this is God, right? And then the way
Mhm.
he runs, and it almost looks like the
Mhm.
glove is like pulling him toward her. It's just the way he's running with his arms out. It's really bizarre and
Yeah, the
super
shadows and-
nightmarish.
And he's like crouched down. He's like real. Ugh. He's scary. I mean, obviously he's not scary to me because but the imagery of this movie, they weren't going for hardly any comedy whatsoever in this movie. So it's like you're getting a maniacal Freddy.
Yeah. Well, yeah, one thing I noticed was like it's not like if you compare Freddy and Jason, right? Jason is not there to scare you.
No.
He's there to kill you.
He's a revenge killer.
Right. He's just there to kill you. Yes, you're scared, but that's like he doesn't care if you're scared or not.
Mm-hmm.
All he cares is that you're dead. Right?
Word.
Freddy is like you said, like maniacal, like he gets off scaring, right? Before he kills somebody.
Well, that's something that I think they kind of touch on why he, like before he was even Freddy Krueger burned in your dreams, like the real life Fred Krueger was a child killer.
Mm-hmm.
So he would kidnap children, torture them, and kill them. And we all know what that does. It's like an adrenaline thing.
Right.
He gets off on
But
it.
yeah, I mean, he in some of these chases, like he could, especially in the dreams, because like in the dream sequences, like he can do anything. He can stretch his freaking arms out.
Mhm.
He can jump, like basically like teleport. Like you're running away from him, and then he appears in front of you. Like he could have had these kids dead 50 times
Toys with him.
before he actually kills them. Right.
He's like a cat.
So it's kind of like it's got that element, which I think is why people like Freddy so much,
Mhm.
because like he enjoys scaring the shit out of people before
Well,
he kills them.
if you think about it, 84, Jason was 80, Leatherface was 74. Is that right?
Yeah, 73, 74.
74 or 73. Michael Myers 78. Like you really didn't get a wisecracking, talking killer. Rarely.
Right.
When you don't have a talking killer, you don't get insight. You don't get in their head. You don't get to know what they're thinking.
Right.
With him, and when we watch 2, you'll see even more. Like you get everything. You get to see what he's thinking, and that's what makes him probably better than most, in my eyes. Like as a killer, once they start going into the comedy, and then you see Child's Play comes out, and which is another wisecracking killer. You start seeing they're just trying to one-up each other on funny, as opposed to being maniacal, which
Right.
I like the maniacal Freddy better.
Word. Yeah, I do too.
Now, did you recognize the dad, the cop? Had you seen him in anything before, George?
Oh God, who is he?
Well, his name is John Saxon, and his first IMDb credit is from like 1954. But he's in everything ever.
Yeah.
Even as far back as he's in, check this out. He's in a movie called The Girl Who Knew Too Much, which we've talked about on the show when Troy was on, because it is the official, unofficial first ever Giallo.
Now, is it an American Giallo or Italian?
A real deal Italian one directed by Mario Bava.
Wow. Why Saxon in it? Was he over there?
He did a lot of work in Italy in the 60s.
Okay.
But he's an American actor of Italian descent, so he could do the Italian speaking roles, but also, cross over to American films. And we'll see him
Right.
again, I'd say, later this year.
A few times. Yeah.
At least once. Yeah. Maybe twice.
I just watched him in The Last Dragon. Not Last Dragon. The Last Dragon. I watched. That's not what I was watching.
Isn't that like the new Disney flick?
No, The Last Dragon's like a blaxploitation 80s comedy version of like Bruce Lee movies.
Oh no, there's a Disney flick. It's like
Enter the Dragon. he was in.
Raya and the Last Dragon or something
Yeah.
shit
Is
like
Enter
that.
the Dragon the one with Chuck Norris?
Enter the Dragon. I think it's the one with Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, and I think Chuck Norris is in there. It's kind of like the Mortal Kombat without all the costumes. It's like they all kind of converge in this area in China, and they do this big tournament of champions.
I am no
Interesting.
expert on the Bruce Lee films, but
It's one of the most iconic Bruce Lee movies. It's the one where he gets the 3 cuts across the chest and the face with the big mirrors, and he fights.
he has to punch all the
Actually-
mirrors. Yeah. I've
Yeah.
seen that clip.
That is a perfect segue into my next note.
Ooh.
Oh. But are we putting a pin on John Saxon?
Oh,
Or are we done
we'll
with
talk about him plenty going forward, but
that? Okay.
George will forget by the
I
next
did get
time
to
he
meet
sees
him,
him.
so he's a nice guy.
Yeah,
I
dude.
met him.
I'm like with names and faces. I just suck at that
Well,
shit.
John Saxon
gonna
is
see him a lot.
awesome,
Okay.
and we just lost him recently. Man, this show has
Yeah.
become like an in memoriam. That bums me out.
Wow.
I did. I met him at Monster Mania one year. He was a really nice guy.
So my next 3 notes were they kind of go together because they're all about effects. The cuts, the Tina gut, like when you see the cuts happen by the invisible Freddy fingers, a cool concept. Looked terrible, but it was a cool concept.
This movie's full of cool concepts.
Yeah,
that look terrible.
very
Yeah.
cool concept. Tina in the body bag.
Awesome.
Oh my
while
god.
Nancy was napping in English class was so cool
Yes.
and looked good because I guess it's easy to put a body in a clear body bag and like put some blood in
Yeah,
there.
but even having it like dragged with the legs up,
Yes.
that was all cool.
Yes.
What took me out of that scene was the hall monitor.
Yeah.
Like it's like you have this eerie.
Well, that's
Cool
kind of what
scene.
obviously, Tina in the body bag could have been a hallucination,
Right.
but I think the hall monitor made it
Comedic.
definitely a dream.
Right.
Like that's when you definitely like, oh, she's definitely dreaming. It's not a hallucination. It's not.
But it's supposed to
We're
give
going
you
nuts.
pause because you're like, oh, a hall monitor. Oh my gosh, she ran out of class and ran into a hall monitor. Now she's
Mhm.
awake. Ooh, nope.
No
Gotcha.
running in
She's
the
still asleep.
hallways.
So it's meant
Right.
to toy with that concept of
Yeah.
perception, but
Yeah.
Just in case like a floating body in the hallway was real to you.
Right. Well, yeah, like obviously it's but you're really not that far into the movie for someone who hasn't watched it before.
Right.
I don't know if it's a dream or not.
Sure.
My first instinct was hallucination.
Right.
Right?
Like
'Cause
traumatic, post-traumatic stress.
Yeah.
when she hasn't
Yeah.
slept in days, that kind of stuff could happen. What was your third effect there, George? Your third effect?
Oh, it's just the next time you see Tina in the body bag, it's in like the next one of Nancy's dream sequences, and she's got like bugs crawling out of her mouth and
Oh,
like
yeah,
snakes or worms or
Mhm.
whatever.
Big old
And I was
centipede
like-
comes flying out.
Yeah, I kind of thought that was a little much.
Just a little much.
It was a little much. Her in the body bag in the hallway was so good,
Mm-hmm.
and then they like kind of
And
made
her
it.
death
They
was
made it
really good, too.
hokey. Yeah, her death was good.
Yeah, they utilized that rotating room.
It was very Exorcist.
Mm-hmm.
Her death.
That was a big thing in the 80s to do the rotating room. To
Yeah.
have somebody on the ceiling and then on the walls. and
Yeah.
It's cool.
Yeah.
It's a cool way to film that.
That's how they did the Glen kill as well.
Yeah.
Glen, who's played by Johnny Depp. You might have heard of him, George.
Yeah.
Uh,
John Mayer Depp.
in one of the
Wow.
most awesome, iconic, crazy, just what the hell moments in
Yeah.
slasher cinema when the whole room just becomes like the science project volcano of blood.
Geyser.
No 3M
there's
blood in
not
this
even-
movie.
There's
No.
not even that much blood in a person's body.
Of course not.
What the
That's-
fuck?
That's what the cops don't the cops say that when they come like they're like you don't want to go in there. Like, it's like ugh.
You don't need a stretcher up there. You need a mop.
Yeah. You
It's
need
a
a
pretty good
mop.
line.
Yeah. But this movie was full of one-liners like
Yeah.
that.
Well, and you have to admit, like the murder set pieces, these big graphic kills, compared to even a Friday the 13th Part 3 or 4, like we're next level, like complexity. The rules are out the window. Like the kill itself becomes the star of all these set pieces, not the implement, not the setup. Living in the
Well,
moment.
With Freddy, it's like the weapon of choice is always the same. Like
At least
it's his blade.
for a while.
It's his glove for a while. So yeah, once they start going down the rabbit hole. But yeah, so the creativity doesn't come from the weapon; it comes from the actual kill.
Yeah.
He's got a little Wolverine in him.
Mm.
A little bit.
I love the opening sequence of him building the glove. Like that's
Kind of reminded me a little bit of Edward Scissorhands,
yeah.
which was played by John Mayer. Most
Right,
most
it was
people
John
don't
Mayer.
know.
He's pretty good in that movie.
I like how they do the weird like aspect ratio inset at the beginning when they're doing the background. Like, it's just, I don't know. There's something off-putting about the way that they like frame it kind of in the screen, but it gives you
Mhm.
that impression that it is, you know, a flashback or exposition separate from the actual narrative. Like, it's effective, but it's like gross. And by being gross, I like it better.
Mm-hmm.
So my next note
Next note.
comes from the sleep study scene.
Okay.
What's with the sensor on her chin? What the fuck are they sensing on her chin?
Quivers.
Jaw tension?
Like-
You don't know your chin quivers when you sleep and when
No,
you're in
like
REM?
seriously. Like there was like I couldn't. I'm like watching the scene and I'm like, all right, just ignore the sensor on her chin. What's
Well,
going
I'm
on in
pretty
the
sure
scene? Pay attention.
the M in RIM stands for mandible, right?
Mandible. Right.
Yeah. Rapid eye mandible. That's what the...
I'm seriously watching the scene.
Are we doing Predator next?
And they keep touching it, like they keep, it's like they're putting the sensors on,
right.
and they like, I guess the one on her chin kept like coming loose, so they keep like touching it and shit. And I'm like, I'm trying to ignore that because what the fuck is it? What are you sensing there?
What do you
What
want?
are you measuring on her lip?
Ugh.
So anyways, that was just a what the fuck.
The
like,
whole time I'm watching that scene, I'm just thinking about how awesome of an actress Linda Blair was.
right.
I'm like,
and
holy
I'm
shit, this
and I'm
girl-
trying not to pay attention to the dream sensor on this girl's lip.
Like, do you realize that, like, 12-year-old Linda Blair blows everybody in this movie out of the water, acting-wise? Like, if we had Linda Blair playing Nancy, or
Yeah.
a Linda Blair type playing these kids,
Yeah.
because Craven's not very good at directing actors, per se. Like,
How could you say that?
he just pretty much lets them do what they do. Like, I don't think he's involved a lot in the acting direction.
I think he
more-
just focuses on snappy dialogue. Because if you think about
Yeah,
Scream...
yeah.
Yeah.
Now, George, are you aware that the same director that did Scream did this movie? Because we know that. And
No.
everybody listening knows that. But you should probably have
No.
that pointed out to you at some
Well,
point.
we pointed that out because he was the janitor in Scream. Wes Craven was the janitor
Right.
in
The
the, hallway.
janitor
He was wearing
was
the Freddy sweater.
dressed up like Freddy, yes.
Right. So this was one.
That's interesting because I guess it's funny because Wes Craven is like obviously creating Scream, which is like an homage / spoof of all these slasher movies.
that he helped create.
But there was no Freddy
Right.
in Scream.
And that's why you're watching this now and you didn't have to watch it before. Because
Right, but that's his movie, and he left
Right.
that out of his movie.
Well,
Scream.
she makes one reference to Freddy, but there wasn't enough references to Freddy in Scream for us to really worry about it being watched.
But what's
Yeah.
funny
You
is
know what I'm saying?
Nightmare on Elm Street itself, especially the first time you're with the main cast walking down the street, it is
Yes.
Scream. Like, it doesn't need
Yes.
to reference
Yeah.
Scream. Scream doesn't need to reference it because they are the same movie
Exactly.
for a little bit.
Yeah,
Visually,
yeah, very much so.
Scream borrows from this movie a lot. Like when you go back, because it's almost like watching Shaun of the Dead after you've gotten enough movies underneath your belt.
Right.
You go back and watch Scream now after watching this, and those scenes of them sitting in the park talking,
Yeah.
and the bedroom scene where Billy goes to her room, knocks on the window, and goes into her room. Like, all of that is Nightmare on Elm Street.
Right.
The school scenes, the lockers, like all that stuff is just this movie.
Interesting.
Well, and one thing
So
that's entered the like internet zeitgeist this year for some reason, the shirt that Rose McGowan's character in Scream wears is an adaptation of the jersey that Johnny Depp gets killed in.
Right.
And so I've seen online crafty people and Etsy type people are like making that shirt now for you to buy
That's funny.
if you want a crop top that's one part Scream, one part Nightmare. And for some reason,
Yeah.
2021, the year of the Johnny Depp crop top.
And 21 Jump Street.
Oh, 2021 Jump Street.
Yeah, this makes me want to watch Scream again. But yeah, she only says, I think Drew Barrymore says, is that the one with the guy with the knives for fingers? So that's the only thing she says.
Yeah, that's not even.
That's not really big. I mean, you already knew that.
I wish I was like a Jedi.
You want your beer?
Yeah.
He's reaching to
Or-
the beer, Dan. He's like trying to move that shit
What's
with
the
his
what's
mind.
the opposite of a Jedi? A Sith. Yes.
Okay.
I don't care which, a Jedi or a Sith, as
Well,
long
they're
as
all
I can
gray. They're
as long
gray
as I
now.
can move objects with my mind, that's what I want right now. Oh, thank you, Travis. Travis handed me my other beer. Isn't he great?
Thank you.
It's a watershed
you,
moment.
Travis.
I think for the rest of this show, for the next 10, 15, 20 years, we're going to be like, Travis, it's time to deliver George's beer to his chair.
You should have seen him reaching like he honestly thought it was going to move.
I was trying.
He was trying. No. Do or do not.
Oh, that's true.
You just did it.
Am I Luke Skywalker? I am.
No, because you don't want to be a Jedi or a Sith. You
I
just
mean-
want to be gray.
I made the same mistake as Luke did.
I just want to be
My-
blue. Tappa deepa but die.
What is Nancy's mom drinking? Malibu? What is that?
She's been drinking the whole movie, right? I thought it was vodka.
I assumed vodka, but I don't drink, so I might be the wrong person to
Yeah.
ask.
It's clear, right?
The-
I thought it was clear. Maybe
yeah,
it was
well,
just-
Malibu's clear, but the bottle looks like Malibu.
okay. Sure,
which
it wasn't
is
like
weird.
Everclear.
Yeah, I think the answer to what is her mom drinking is everything within reach.
Alcohol.
She's like a fish.
Alcohol.
She's
Well,
suppressing her guilt for murdering a bad guy.
No, I feel guilty about that. Oh, perfect segue into my next note. Boiler room scene. We're talking about the mom and Nancy.
where she finds a glove.
This doesn't make anything any better.
Right.
And she keeps saying like, "Oh, I wish I should have told you earlier. I should have blah, blah, blah." Like that was going to help.
Mm.
That wouldn't help. Yeah, just put this guy in this little kid's brain earlier. Yeah, that
Right.
would help. None of this is helping.
The whole time that shit's happening, I'm thinking to myself, the movie I want to watch is everything she's talking about.
I want to. Yeah, true.
I want to watch that movie. They did a TV show, but it was done in the wrong time period. So it was like, if it was made today, it would have been a lot more serious. It would have been really good. But back then, it was like just eye
Yeah.
candy.
So the glove was hidden in what looked like a wood burning stove or some kind of furnace or something in the
It's
basement.
an old furnace. Yeah.
Okay, that's where the glove was, right?
Which could explain the haunting, but they never even touch on that.
During the last chase scene, right, where she sets him on fire,
Right.
right? She sets him on fire right there, but they're running around this furnace, and I thought for a second that she might grab that glove and put it on and turn the tables.
Tommy Jason style.
Kind of.
Mm.
But like maybe that glove was like the dream Freddy kryptonite. You know?
Okay.
That would have been pretty fun.
But that didn't happen.
It did not happen.
So that was just me thinking. I was like, oh, the glove's right there. Is she gonna put that glove on?
Well, and that was one of many moments in this movie that kind of overlap with the iconography of a certain American franchise that I know all three of us love. I'm of course referring to Home Alone.
Mm.
That
Oh,
furnace is the haunted
Mhm.
furnace from Home Alone, pretty much.
Pretty much, yeah.
And then you've got, the interdimensional Home Alone Inception at the end where she's booby trapping the house in different tiers of dreams.
It's
very
funny that
Home
you say
Alone.
this because my next note was about Glen's death, and I thought it was interesting because an adult witnessed it. But let's just blow past that because then I wrote down Nancy prepping is dope. Talk about a strong female character. Nancy is not fucking around. And then the next note is spooky Home Alone chase scene at the end was good until mom sunk into the bed.
Yeah. Yeah.
And don't forget the Home Alone 2 cassette manipulation when Glenn is talking to his mom at the beginning of the movie and he uses the sound effects on a boombox.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, that's only
That's
1 or 2
Ferris
degrees
Bueller's
away.
too.
Yeah, I mean, guys, this movie is an 80s
Ahead of its
movie,
time.
I will say.
Yeah.
It's also a Home Alone prequel.
I like it.
So, my final thoughts about the end. Okay. I wrote down. I thought she had him with the whole taking his power away thing. But then the morning after was just too perfect. It reminded me of Friday the 13th.
Mm.
So when I saw it and it was like hazy and bright and like all of her friends were alive still, I'm like, damn, this
Yeah.
is not gonna go. This is not good, man.
It's not ending well.
So, but it's not a big problem. There's lots of problems, but Nancy's reaction to the convertible, like,
The Christmas sweater convertible roof.
yeah, which was by the
Yeah.
way, her reaction is like, it's like, this is Nancy. Her reaction shouldn't be, Mom, oh my God, help, blah, blah, blah. It's like, okay, this is a dream.
Yeah. Grab it by the horns.
Deal with this. She's already done it.
You don't have any power over me.
You know,
just do it
it's just
again.
Give me a
like,
beer.
yeah. Like, I wrote down, you would think at this point she would be like, welp, I'm still dreaming.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know, it's just, I don't know. I kind of feel like it's normal at that point. Like, this is not a new twist for her.
Right.
And she reacts totally different after having that character arc and getting over that. She goes back to being like a whimpering little child about it again.
The only thing I can
What
think
the
of
hell?
is the thing with Nancy was she was strong in the real world. She was defiant. She was outspoken. She was direct. But in the dream sequences, she was a little bit more of a damsel. In almost all of them, until the very end, when she, I guess, thought she was in the real world.
Right.
And
Okay.
she was more empowered
So
by
that
the traps and
that
everything.
character arc happens,
Right.
and then you go back to a dream where Freddy's gonna try and kill her again, and she's back to being,
Mm-hmm.
you know, a damsel.
It's also
It's not consistent. That's all I'm saying.
right, but
I didn't
it's
like the
it's
way
an
they-
80s way to end a film that you really don't want it to be closed. You don't want closure because sequels were like a big thing. Like studios were like, yeah, we gotta leave it open ended. Every movie has a Michael Myers dent on the lawn, basically.
Right.
Like no one ends anything definitely for about a decade and a half. Because they know this is our cash cow. If people like it, we're going to make 10 of them. So,
Yeah. I hate money,
And
man. Money sucks. It ruins everything.
and the thing with Nightmare on Elm Street is they actually did a good thing and made a good sequel. So it's like you're invested because you just watched a good sequel. So now the third one comes around, you're definitely going to go watch that. And the third one is
I wonder when I'm gonna have a chance to watch the next one.
I don't know.
Yeah.
On your own time, maybe. I think we said last week you were going to watch.
Yeah,
one
we
and
said
two,
last week.
Yeah.
And 3 is like Dan said, he doesn't really like 3, but it's different enough to where it's a good sequel because they didn't rehash.
People love 3,
Okay.
man. Just because I don't
love
like
3.
it, people love it, man.
Yeah, I love 3 because it takes like things that are special, like Cuckoo's Nest. It kind of takes that aspect of what happens to these kids when they are affected, have this post-traumatic stress syndrome, and they're all put in the same place. They're all Freddy victims. It's a good idea.
It's ambitious and it's well written.
It's ambitious.
Hey,
And
so
that's when you start getting your Freddy that's like off the chain.
we were talking about
Interesting.
consistency of like the dreams versus the reality versus the overlap. There's one part that just blows my mind because it does not fit with the rest of the narrative. And that's when Depp is watching, Glen is watching Heather Langenkamp sleep, Nancy. And she's like, hey, am I okay? And he like pops up in her dream and is like, thumbs up, you're good. And he does like the Michael Myers pop out of the bushes, but from the wrong side. So
Right.
that's like a cool shot because you're like, ooh, it's Michael. No, it's Johnny Depp.
That's John Mayer.
It's John Mayer. He's gonna play a solo.
Mayer.
So, Freddy Krueger.
Yeah, how about Freddy Krueger?
How about those notes?
How about those notes?
Well, it sounds like you didn't hate the movie.
No.
Did you catch
I didn't hate it.
the Poltergeist feeling moment where Glen's about to
Yes.
get pulled into the bed and he's falling
Yes.
asleep and the Star Spangled Banner is playing at the end of the day broadcast?
Yes,
And it's
yes,
like, ooh, which movie am I
yes.
watching?
I was like, well, actually,
Yes.
I was like, what time is it? And I was like, it's midnight. And I was like, nah, that doesn't play until like
2 or
2 or 3 a.m. Yeah. But anyways, yeah. That was very poltergeistish. Is that a word? And then his kill was very poltergeist-ish
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah.
Looked like he got dropped into a blender.
Yeah. My favorite part is the TV goes into the hole too.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah. Like he just pulls everything in.
Yeah.
But see, I don't
Shit.
think it's too inconsistent that an adult would see that happening, because up to this point, the murders are happening, and it's just random awake parties who are witnessing the other end of it, right? So far, it had only been the boyfriend noticing, watching the murder happen, but I don't think they had established that he was, like, interconnected with it, and that's why it's so jarring, right? Because he's awake in the real world, and she's just flopping around the rotating room. Same thing here.
Mm-hmm.
The mom walks in and it's just like, whoa. What?
Right, but on the first one, he gets accused of killing.
So you think
the
they had
chick.
to accuse the mom? Be like, mom threw him in a blender.
You can't accuse the mom.
That's why it's...
This is ridiculous.
Yeah,
There's a hole in the dude's bed.
That's the narrative, right? We've progressed from, like, plausible, murder by a boyfriend up through implausible, deniable mom involvement. So the story itself is accelerating at this point to where they're running
Right.
out of people to blame.
Not to
Right.
mention the elephant in the room of this whole movie is how judgmental these parents are of these kids.
They're
When all
very
of them-
judgy.
With pitchforks and torches, all of them went to that refinery and torched that man to death. Like, they all are capable of murder
Yes.
and covering it up. So,
yeah, who the fuck are they?
who the fuck are they?
I didn't even realize that, but you're right.
That's always in the back of my mind when I watch these movies. It's like how judgmental the parents get about, whether the kid is having these things, and they're like, oh, you're fine, go to school. Well,
Yeah, but you
whatever.
would think that, like, dude is accused of murdering his girlfriend, and, like, if you were someone who had, done what you needed to do, because let's be honest, killing Freddy Krueger,
Mhm.
when they did, in the fashion that they did, after what had happened, it's kind of like, Texas justice, just doing what you got to do.
Mm-hmm.
you
Yeah,
know?
I just
and no
watched
one
the
would
shooter.
say, and no one would say that that's wrong.
Did you see the shooter?
Yes, I've seen
Okay,
that,
so the
yes.
very end of the shooter, when he says, when the attorney general says to Mark Wahlberg's character, he's like, listen, it's like the Wild Wild West out there.
Mm-hmm.
He was basically saying, go take care of it.
Right.
Go do what you have to do.
So anyway,
That's what they should have been. These parents should have been a lot more involved on a sympathetic level of what their kids are going through when they're all talking about the same guy, the same situation, based on the
yes.
guy the parents killed. So the parents are pretty involved. They should be a lot more understanding.
See, I thought you were talking about how judgmental they were of the boyfriend. I can't remember
they were
his name.
They were judgmental.
the
Glen.
the boyfriend that killed himself in the jail cell.
Oh,
or that they
Tina's
thought-
boyfriend.
Yeah,
The hell was his name?
Rod or something like that, or
Ruby Rod.
I don't know. Doesn't matter. You know who I'm talking about.
Yeah.
But they're like, oh, he's a killer and he's a blah blah blah. Like, you would think that if you had killed someone, and like it was like warranted, that you might like just stop and be like, well, maybe he had a decent reason. We don't know.
Well, that
Like, we're
and
not
the
in his
fact that
head.
The girl was gutted on the ceiling. Like, can we all just discuss how
Yeah, but let's
supernatural
not
that shit
let's
is?
not jump to conclusions here. Let's get the full story. You would
Yeah.
think that would be their reaction.
The
Right?
people that built
Because-
that house never should have put in that rotating room. It makes it hard to explain. what happened in it. Now, guys, is this movie about Iran-Contra? Because I'm starting to get a feeling it's about Iran-Contra. You know, this whole like, oh, we are the authoritative, judgmental leadership, and you punk kids don't know anything. Also, don't ask any questions about Nicaragua.
I don't know. I did notice that Nancy was reading a Ronald Reagan book in the beginning.
What, the one about booby traps?
No.
A little light reading. She just stops by the military
Yeah.
surplus store and buys a bunch of... What movie is it where they're reading... Is it one of
Ollie
these?
North.
Where they're reading a bunch of like fields. I watched a slasher movie recently where they're literally like reading.
Is it Red Dawn?
No, I want to say it's one of
Uh-huh.
these where
Okay.
Nancy or one of the characters is reading like the field manuals for improvised explosives and stuff that she's gotten from a
Yes,
military
that's what I'm-
surplus.
Yes, that's what I was just referencing.
Is that this
It was like-
movie?
Yeah.
okay.
Is
Yes.
that in this movie?
Yes.
Yeah.
It was like about booby traps.
Booty traps.
What do they what do they call it though? They called it something. They made it sound more official, like it was like personnel.
Tactical Jason.
I don't know.
When I was a kid, it was Tom and Jerry, and Tom would draw that shit on a chalkboard.
Yeah, but it was like it was improvised explosives and personnel elimination or something,
Okay.
some shit like that.
So that is
I think-
I have seen all these movies. I watched them all in a row a couple of months ago, so it all runs together for me. But that was a mistake. Don't watch them all in a row.
Yeah, don't do that.
1, 2, skip
I
a
re-
few. Jason versus Freddy. That's how that works.
I would say 1, 2, 3, then skip.
Yeah, most people love 3. It's true.
The 4 has one cool sequence in it.
They all have
No, no.
one moment where you're like,
Yeah.
okay, that was
They do
cool.
a Yeah, that was cool. But yeah, I stop at 3. Although New Nightmare is really good.
Yeah.
So compared to the others,
Yeah.
it's a good conclusion.
Is this a safe space?
I think so.
I like
Yeah.
the remake. I like it a lot.
Mm.
It's my 3rd favorite Freddy movie.
Well, can't debate opinions.
I've only seen it once, and it was at a theater, and we had a lot of fun. And we almost killed my friend that night. Sorry, Steve. So maybe I just remember it because it was such a fun night. But like, Freddy was gross, and I didn't like him,
Yeah,
and I wanted him to be defeated and go away.
but see, that's fine. I get that, and I think I kind of discussed with you how I would have remade, and I think that's why I get angry about the remake. Is because it does not do anything new or change or fix or magnify stuff that's not handled in the original.
I disagree because they do one thing in the remake, which George will watch eventually, maybe, probably not. But they do one thing that they tease, and you're like, oh, that'd be an interesting twist. And they don't really follow through on it as strongly as they could, but like, even by not following through on it, it's still an effective gut punch. So
I don't know what you're talking about.
that's okay.
You could probably say it.
Well, there's the whole...
George ain't gonna watch it.
They introduced doubt for a part of the movie where you're like, oh God, what if he was just accused and was killed by a vigilante mob and he actually didn't do it? And then I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, that's really cool.
That's
Actually,
a good idea.
That's a good
I like
idea.
that.
But then they're
Yeah.
like, oh, never mind, he really did it. And not only did
really
he do it, here's stuff that you don't want to see. And it's
yeah,
just like,
he was molesting them before he was killing
gross.
them.
Yeah, so
Like
gross.
that was always like the unsaid thing in the.
They
in
said the
Robert
quiet
Englund
part
movies.
loud, and I just made a face like,
Yeah.
this movie's gross. And I think that's where people checked out because they were like, oh man, my favorite slasher guy is a gross guy. And it's like, yeah, well, I mean,
Yeah,
we all knew he was gross. Like, get on board.
See, that's not why I checked out.
Yeah, I don't know.
I always thought Freddy was a smarmy, kind of disgusting character. When you think about his origins, yeah, the guy gets lost over the next couple years, but he's still who he is. My issue with the remake is visually. I said this before. The makeup was too realistic. I love the guy who played him. I've loved
Rorschach.
him forever. Yeah, I love him.
He's so
I love
cool.
that guy. and he's a perfect pick. Kevin Bacon, I could see playing that part as well, but he's a perfect pick, and I just think if it was done the way, the recent Godzilla movie, they paid homage to the original, but did so many things visually and story-wise where you can be like, all right, this is a complete Godzilla movie without really, I can't really compare it to the original. I'm just going to let it stand on its own. Even though it is a Godzilla movie, it's on its own. Same thing with the Friday the 13th remake. They did their own thing. They took 1 and 2, combined it in the one movie, and then did a shit ton of badass things that make it stand alone as one of the better Jason movies.
And they referenced every movie at one point or another,
Absolutely.
which, if you guys haven't heard our episode on that one, go listen to that.
Check it out, because we gush a little bit over Mr. Mears.
It's beautiful.
So with this one, I was like, okay, they did the same exact sweater, same exact hat, same exact glove, but it's a little bit different to the glove. The character is played creepy, but looks like an alien. Like I would have much rather seen him look like Two-Face did in Dark Knight than the way they basically made him look like
You want him crispy.
glob.
You don't want
I want him detailed. I want to see his eyebrow. I don't want to see eyebrows because I know they will be gone.
I want to see his lack of eyebrows.
I want to see his facial definition. Like Robert Englund, he's a caricature. He's got the nose shape. He's got the chin. He's got his mouth. Like you can see they call him pizza face. Like you could see all the different layers of skin on top of each other. Like to me, that made him look a lot more sinister.
We used
This
to
guy
call
just
Natalie
looks
Pizza
sad.
Face.
He just looks sad.
Yeah.
He looked like somebody you would see over at Chop. Like,
Oof.
he just looks sad. Like, I'm just like, oh. But again, my biggest issue is they didn't, and the same thing with the original, they don't play up the supernatural part of Freddy. They play up, and they don't touch a lot on his pre-burn Fred Krueger stuff. And I think this movie kind of did that. They show him as Fred Krueger. They show him do some things.
A little bit, yeah.
But they don't hit all the marks that I wanted. So I was just like, The Freddy part I don't like, and the prequel stuff, meh. So the movie didn't get me the way it should have.
Word.
But I understand why Dan doesn't like the glorification of a child murderer. But then again, Hannibal Lecter ate people.
Yeah, but the people usually deserved it, right?
He's the most likable murderer.
Well, I don't know about that.
I mean, he ate the rude, right? For the benefit of the room.
That's true.
I don't know.
That might be later. That might just be from the Hannibal book after they'd already made him like the hero.
Yeah.
I did finally rewatch Hannibal, guys. It's okay.
It's okay.
I could tell who directed it without looking, just based on the shots. I was like, oh, this is a Ridley. It's got to be.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, there it is. Oh, yeah, well, there it is. That's not bad. Oh, and it has a guy, the Italian policeman. Guys, he was in Black Belly of the Tarantula back in the 70s. As soon as he popped on screen, I was like, honey, that guy's from Ajalo. And she's like, what? And I'm like, yeah, I think he's in Black Belly. She's like, what?
Did you say there's a movie called Black Belly of the Tarantula?
Black Belly of the Tarantula.
I've got to see that.
So here's the cool thing about Black Belly of the Tarantula. It's about a killer who is
tell me.
using venom from a tarantula hawk wasp to paralyze women and then kill them.
Isn't that the Bill Cosby story?
So here's the funny thing.
I was just going to say that. I was just going to say that.
Here's the funny thing. They have footage of a tarantula hawk wasp killing a tarantula.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Only the footage is a honeybee attacking a small spider. Because Italy, guys. But what's bonkers is...
This is coming from the guy who would not watch a Marvel film.
There is a movie later that uses tarantula hawk wasp footage. And I'm just like, how did you get that footage? Because I thought you could just get honeybees and small spiders. Which that makes me think, guys.
It's like you said when we were watching Bird. And the plumage was not very impressive. You were like...
Crystal. Well,
it could have just been a pigeon because that's what they had access to. You know, because it's Italian movies. You got to look past that.
But yeah,
Just
guys,
look past it all.
it's
Just look past it.
it's the same thing where like
Swing away.
the Simpsons clip, you know, cows don't look like cows. Tarantula hawks and honeybees.
Yeah. You can go on YouTube and find 1,900 videos of a tarantula hawk killing a tarantula.
Well,
But not in Italy.
Not in 1963 or
Yeah, but you
when
can go to PBS
the
and
Black
get that
Belly
shit.
of the tarantula killer was
Shit.
coming
I've
out.
been
Guys.
watching tarantula hawks killing tarantulas for decades on PBS.
Have you ever seen the show Mr. Bean, George?
Yes. Oh.
Mr. Bean
How are we
is a
gonna,
show?
Are we gonna really tie Nightmare on Elm Street with Mr. Bean? I want to
Or
hear this.
is Mr. Bean a show or
It
a
was
movie?
a show, yeah.
Mr. Bean was a show in England. It's a sketch comedy starring the voice of the toucan from the Lion King cartoon, Rowan Atkinson. He's an amazing physical comedian.
He didn't
Okay.
talk. He just.
He would hardly talk at all.
He mumbled.
But he would communicate visual. I mean, it's the funniest show I've ever
Yeah,
seen.
he's great.
It's on Amazon Prime. I might make you watch one episode tonight after we do this.
Okay.
Because years ago, this would have been like 1997 or so, flipping through the channels one night on my local TV because we didn't have cable because we never had cable until I moved out of the house and then my parents got cable. I still hold a grudge.
You grew up without cable?
No cable, dude. We had 4, 5,
That's why
9,
you're so damn smart.
They were
19,
like, he's gone.
29,
Dude,
38.
cable.
It's
My
why
wife didn't have cable either.
It's why
She's
I
fucking
knew what
smart as shit.
UPN was. You didn't know what UPN was because you had cable. I had UPN.
Right.
So I'm flipping through, and as I cross the PBS channel, I swear I see Freddy Krueger, but I keep scrolling, you know, and then wait a minute, was that Freddy Krueger? And I scroll back. And as I do, this goofy looking guy in a sweater is walking into a movie theater. So I'm just like, okay, well, I'm going to sit here and I'm going to see what happens. Guys, Freddy Krueger brought me to Mr. Bean. And I never went back. Thank you, Freddy Krueger. That's really the best thing Freddy ever did for me up until that recent cameo was bring me to Mr. Bean, the funniest show out of England.
That's funny.
So, what's his name? Robert Englund
Robert
Robert
Englund,
brought you
England.
to the greatest show
the funniest British comedian. Yeah.
of England. All right, so how about this idea for a movie? There's good and evil. They both use the same, let's call it magic. Right?
I've already checked out. Continue.
No, it's cool. It's cool. Like, you have to train at it and stuff. And, like, there's, like, you know, like, all kinds of different types of people and aliens could partake in this.
Okay.
And
Sounds like
it takes place in space.
sounds like the plot of Thor. But okay.
And there's lots of, like, lasers and, like, blasters.
I just
and-
have to jump in here. I am concerned for my safety because I just watched A Nightmare on Elm Street and I'm about to fall asleep.
Hey-o.
He's saying that movie sucks.
I was describing Star Wars, so it's fine.
Oh, are you?
It tracks, actually.
Poorly.
You ever, like...
George Lucas, you are not.
Yeah, right.
You're no Sharon Stone.
Yo. Sharon Stone.
Let's face it, Sid, your mother flaunted her shit all over town like she was some Sharon Stone. Let's face it, Sid, your mom is no Sharon Stone.
You know, it's funny. I told my buddy Jesse
Jesse.
that I watched that movie. Jesse's a bit
Does he have
older
a
than
girl?
me.
He's a bit older than you?
Yeah, a bit older than me. Told him that we watched that movie. What was it called again?
Scream.
No.
Basic Instinct.
Basic
Instinct,
Yes.
yes.
And he starts, like, crossing his legs and uncrossing his legs and, like, recrossing his legs the other way, like, while we're talking. And I'm like, yeah, I see you.
But did he
Yes.
tense his
And
jaw?
you're not wearing underwear.
You've got to tense your jaw or you're not doing that scene justice.
Yeah.
I was like, yes,
Or
that's the,
sweating
I was like,
profusely.
I was like,
Wayne
yes,
Knight.
that's the scene everyone remembers. But no, it's better than that.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, sure it is. I'm like, no, it is.
He's never seen it?
No, he's seen it, but
okay.
all he remembers is that.
Because
And I'm
people
like,
haven't seen it. That's all they know.
right. And I'm like, dude,
Yeah.
you're totally selling this movie short. He didn't want to watch American Beauty either.
Hmm.
Because he was like, no.
Who is this dick?
Yeah, like, seriously.
God.
I mean, no, he's like one of my favorite people, but like,
Gotcha.
yeah. It's like, dude,
Hmm.
if you think American Beauty was about like that, you're totally missing the point. He's like,
Right.
no, I'm not missing the point. And I'm like, no, yeah, you are. You are missing the point, bro.
Here's the point, and you've missed it.
Yeah, you're over here. Point's over here. You're over
What's
there.
over here? Are you coming? See on the roof? No, I can't even do that quote anymore because
What?
George doesn't know what it is.
So
Are you coming? Because the train moves, not the station.
I don't know what that's.
So I was trying to find something for this show, a bit of information that still eludes me, but I hope at some point to maybe next week I'll have more information by then. There's a piece of information that I am missing that I know exists. Have you ever heard the story of how they discovered Neptune?
No.
Basically, the physicists noticed behavior in space that indicated that somewhere over there had to be a planet, but they hadn't found a planet yet. But the gravitational behavior of other objects led them to believe, oh God, there's another planet out there.
Mm.
And then they found Neptune.
Makes sense. Yeah.
So I'm looking for
When did they
Neptune.
find Uranus?
They already had Uranus.
Sorry.
This is a classy podcast, you
Yeah,
guys.
my bad.
Yeah, they had a firm grip. So anyway, so I'm looking for Neptune out here,
Yep.
and I haven't found it yet. But that's my homework for next week, is to hopefully find the connection. But anyway, in my hunt for Neptune, I found a quote that said, and it was unreliable sources like Wikipedia, IMDb, somewhere. They
CNN.
were saying that David Warner was originally slated to play Freddy. And my head exploded, and I had to put it back
David
together in time for the show. The guy who gets the glass decapitation in The Omen.
Yes.
One of my favorite actors for no reason.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
As
He
Freddy
kinda looks like
Krueger.
he could. Yeah.
British Freddy
Yeah, I don't-
Krueger?
I don't know how that would have gone.
That would have been weird. Anyway, sit and think about that for a little while, because that's hard to track.
That brought something up. Do you know the history of how this movie came about, George? I know it's kind of like trivia stuff that Dan doesn't like to do.
No, go
no,
for it.
but
Let's
let's
give George
go
the
back to
background.
that. Let's go back to that quick quote that you said about the train leaving the station.
Yeah.
What is that from? Because
a League of Their Own.
I have seen that.
Okay.
I-
Are you coming? See how it works? Is
Yes.
the train moves, not the
Yes.
station. Yeah. Good shit.
Yes, I've seen that. It's a
Um,
fantastic flick.
So apparently, I've been on this Facebook page called Horror Movies, where
Okay.
people like to troll each other and they say like classic movies are shit, and then watch people argue for an hour.
Yeah.
So they'll be like, "Oh, I'm watching John Carpenter, and boy, is that a shit movie!" And then they just watch everybody go back and forth and be like, "Ah."
Bunch of trolls.
Yeah, just a bunch of trolls. So
Trolls trolling simpletons.
So apparently, there was a guy on there who doesn't. He despises almost to the fact that he wants to hunt people down and kill them when they advertise or say that a movie is based on a true story, when it's not
Okay.
a true story.
That's a really weird fetish or anti-fetish or whatever
Yeah.
that is.
He was so angry. His target was religious movies when they, or not really, like exorcism movies, because
Okay.
he was an atheist, so he's like, it's not based on any truth. Brr. I'm like, well, just because
Okay.
it says based on a true story doesn't mean that it's true. It just means it's based on events that happened and or accounts.
You're on
Okay.
a
Back
list,
and
is what you're saying. Like you put yourself on a list by engaging with this crazy person.
No, I watched him go back and forth with other people, and then I kind of figured him out by the way he was talking.
He sounds like a fun person to
I
troll.
didn't have any interaction with him other than the fact that I was saying I was the person that said that certain events, it's based on certain events. It's not really based on the true story. Like Exorcist was based on a different exorcism of a child.
Yeah,
but
it
it
was
was a boy.
based on
like,
this exorcism
Right.
in Maryland or some shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He didn't want to hear any of that. So anyway, with this movie, it's based on not a true story.
What's this guy's name? We should tag
I don't
him.
remember
We should add
what his
him.
name is. But Wes Craven apparently was reading in a newspaper that in Japan, was it Japan? I think it was Japan. People were dying in their sleep.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's like a bunch of cases, not just one. Like there was multiple cases of people dying in their sleep.
Where they're like getting sucked into their bed and shit. Like
Not sucked in their bed,
with,
but
like,
just like
blood-
dying
blood
in their
geysers?
dreams, basically
Okay.
having heart attacks in their sleep based on
because their dreams were too intense.
traumatic experiences that they were having. Like
Well,
they
it
were
was
healthy people.
Cambodia, which
Was it Cambodia?
Cambodia. Okay.
Okay, not Japan.
Well, they should have taken a couple of those people aside and put some sensors on their chins to figure out
On
what was
their
going on.
chin sensor.
So it's kind of based on he took that idea and just kind of ran with it.
Right.
But
So this
obviously
is a historical movie, then.
this is
This
historical.
is exactly
It's based
what was going on in
truth.
Cambodia.
If old Paulie V had put a chin sensor on Sharon Stone,
Stone.
they would have detected her lie when she clenched her jaw after saying she didn't kill that guy.
That's true. I like your Stu impression there. It was pretty good.
It's true. That's true.
Stone.
Stone.
So now, Travis, you might have heard this before, but there's a quote I took from the New York Post. Now, if you understand why I'm hesitant to use anything from the New York Post,
It's America's oldest newspaper.
I mean, it's something. But anyway, there's a quote from old Wes Craven saying that Freddy Krueger's name comes from a bully who would beat up Wes Craven in elementary school. But it doesn't say, was the kid's name Freddy? Was the kid's name Krueger? You know,
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't really get into that. That's the whole quote that the name came from.
Interesting.
So here's the thing. There's a little movie from 1972 called The Last House on the Left,
Mm-hmm.
which was written and produced and directed by Wes Craven and Sean Cunningham, which makes it really interesting because it's like that nexus point between Hills Have Eyes and Nightmare on Elm Street and Friday the 13th.
Mm-hmm.
There's a killer in that movie played by David Hess, whose name is Krug Stillo. Yeah, and he, of course, does all the things that Freddy is accused of in both the
Yes.
original and the remake. And he taunts the hell out of the victims, verbally.
So he was fleshing that character out a little bit.
And so I wonder if the Krug in Krugestillo and the Krug in Krueger, if there is a connection there. Like, is that, is the name of that bully somehow related to the Krug part? Because it shows up in both
Right.
movies. So I'm getting that kind of feel, right?
Mm.
Here's the thing that blows my mind. And this is my Neptune project. I don't have yet the connection that leads me to this. And it could just be a simple evolutionary thing where both Nightmare on Elm Street and this other movie reach back to Last House on the Left just because it's in the zeitgeist. And Krug is such a gross sounding kind of, phoneme, like Krug, right? It's got like it sounds like a curse word in a foreign language, kind of. Here's the thing.
Don't be such a Krug.
I'm gonna bleep that, actually.
Why? You're not
'Cause
allowed to
it
say
sounds
that.
like a curse word.
Don't be such a beep.
Yeah. So anyway, here's the thing. Movie comes out. Nightmare on Elm Street comes out November 16th, 1984. Which, by the way, is after 6 months after Friday the 13th Part 4. 7 months after.
Mm.
So imagine, like, George, just think of the world where, Jason's been hacked to pieces by a little boy. Where do we go
Yep.
from here?
Yep.
It makes Nightmare on Elm Street seem like a pretty logical next step. Like, boom, right? And they actually shoot Nightmare on Elm Street from June to July of 84. So after Friday 4 is out. So there's a good chance that some of these crew members saw Friday 4 and were just like, oh man, our movie's like poised to be the next big thing, right? Like, we've done all we can do with mortal slashers. Just wait till we show them Freddy. Pretty cool stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Here's the thing that blows
Yep.
my mind. So Nightmare on Elm Street comes out in November of 84. A movie comes out about 3 weeks ahead of time. October of 84, late October, a movie called Silent Madness comes out. And if it weren't for Nightmare on Elm Street coming out, people might actually remember that Silent Madness was a movie that came out in 1984. It kind of gets brushed out of the market. It's a 3D movie shot by the same guy that shot Friday 3. So it's like it's got, the technical side is handled by a familiar hand, but it's directed by the guy that did Nightmare. Have you ever seen Nightmare?
No.
So, okay, this is my bit for Nightmare. When I'm talking about Nightmare, I'm referring to the movie that's also known as Nightmares, but not the Nightmares from Australia. That's also known as Stage Fright. Not that Stage Fright, the other Stage Fright. I'm talking about Nightmares that's also known as Nightmares in the Damaged Brain. You with me?
Yeah. Wait, let me get my abacus out.
Yeah, no, you're going to need a flowchart to figure out what movie I'm talking about. Silent Madness.
Like an FBI flowchart.
Silent Madness
Yes.
is directed by a guy named Simon Nocturne, and that's a funny name. But he was the production manager of Nightmare, that is also Nightmares, that is not Nightmares from Australia, that is also known as Stage Fright, but not the Stage Fright that I'm talking about. Anyway, we need more names for movies, is what my thesis comes out to. In the movie Silent Madness, which comes out before Nightmare on Elm Street, which is shot before Nightmare on Elm Street is even in production, there's a character named Dr. Krueger, which is kind of nothing, right? Like, that's just a funny thing. It's just a coincidence.
Who kills people in their dreams.
No, but I'm going to send you guys a link to a scene toward the end of this movie. Now, keep in
Is he
mind,
wearing a striped sweater?
I'm sending you guys a clip on YouTube. It's very short. I want you to listen to the score, what little score there is, and I want you to tell me what room this takes place in the movie Silent Madness.
Probably a boiler room.
Probably a boiler room. Hey, this is Dan in Post. I'll link to the clip in our show notes, but for now, we'll skip ahead to after they've seen the clip. Now, that movie is not very good. I don't recommend that you watch that movie because it kind of sucks. Although it does have one scene that involves like aerobics, gymnastics, and murder. It's like the perfect 80s moment. It's also in 3D. So, I mean, your mileage may vary with that experience. But, guys, I just showed you a movie that has Dr. Krueger and a taunting, kind of rapey killer guy in a boiler room. Isn't that weird?
That's weird.
Like, where does that come from? It can't be.
Can we get John Carpenter on the phone and ask him?
Well, and that's the thing. The only thing I could think, I was working through who worked on these movies. And we do have a connection to the Carpenter movies because the producer of Halloween 2 and 3 also produced Nightmare on Elm Street. So you've got a Carpenter,
Tom Wallace?
John Wolfe. So you've got this guy Wolfe, who is a producer on both franchises. So you have a Carpenter connection to Craven, but I can't find any way that the people that made Silent Madness would have like insight. So it may just be one of those weird things where a little bit of Last House on the Left turns into Krueger. I don't know. I'm going to keep digging.
Well, maybe, when was the Nightmare on Elm Street script written?
We'll see. And
maybe it bounced around and somebody stole.
That's the thing. It could easily have,
Yeah.
that could have happened. It depends on, that's the information we need is when, and what specific dates in 83 was Silent Madness made? Because they say it was made in 83, but give me more than that, guys.
Because I don't think Craven was receiving the silent, was it silent what?
Silent
Night,
Madness.
Silent Madness? I don't think he was receiving that script.
Silent, comma,
I
madness.
wish there were commas. No commas.
So it's if anything, I'm assuming
Silent
the Nightmare on Elm Street
Madness,
script,
comma, Deadly Madness.
Deadly Madness, Part 2.
I would just wonder if because Silent Madness is made by a bunch of former pornographers. It's not gonna, these people aren't getting a lot of attention, right? It cannot be that anyone stole from them because I doubt outside of their own mothers, anybody ever actually saw their movies or read their scripts. But I wonder if they got to scoop somehow. They found out about a script in progress. They saw some names. They saw some boiler rooms, and they thought, "Ooh, we'll beat them to the punch by making our movie even."
Bastards.
Yeah, I don't know. There's something here, or there's nothing here, and I'm working on it to figure out, is there anything here?
Well, there is there.
Well,
and you'll find it.
I'm confident that you'll get to the bottom of this.
I hope so.
I mean, you got to the bottom of the other stuff. I mean, the fact that you completely ruined Halloween for me.
Do. Hey, but one thing I will say about Silent Madness, which is not a Nightmare on Elm Street movie, it does have the girl from Friday 7, the one who gets the axe in the belly, and she's in that movie too, which is weird. Little, the 80s were an interesting time for the same 5 people to be in every movie, and then never anything ever again. Of course,
Agents
I'm
were
referring to
working hard.
Elizabeth Keitel, who is Aaron's favorite actress. Shout out to Aaron. Hey, George, you've seen Kill Bills, right? The Kills Bill, I think is how you pluralize those 2 movies.
Absolutely.
Now, if I were to tell you, let's play a little call and answer type game. Hey, George, my name is Buck.
And I like to fuck.
You know where that comes from?
No.
A movie called Eaten Alive, directed by Tobe Hooper. I don't recommend it.
Tobe Hooper.
Guy did Texas Chainsaw.
Yes.
And Poltergeist.
The line.
No, I recognize the name, but like yeah.
The guy who didn't direct Poltergeist.
Yeah, the guy who was
right, exactly.
who was adjacent
Right.
to Steven Spielberg when they made Poltergeist. In the movie Eaten Alive, which is directed, it's definitely directed by Tobe Hooper. Like, there's no debate. This is definitely
There's no Goonies bike rides.
yeah, this is definitely a Hooper. Now we're talking about the 1976 Eaten Alive, not the later Cannibal movie,
Gotcha.
which is not directed by Tobe Hooper. Anyway, that line about being Buck and liking to fornicate, delivered by a young Robert Englund, playing a character named Buck.
Wow.
Yeah.
Mm.
You know, it's funny in the overdub or like the TV version of Kill Bill. I think it was a comedian.
I like trucks.
No.
I like to truck.
There's a comedian who did a bit about like the TV overdubs.
Yeah.
And that line was, my name's Buck and I like to party.
That's funny.
I wish I could remember the comedian because like I like to give that dude credit
Right.
for that joke.
What?
It's
What
not
year was
mine.
the Eaten Alive?
76.
80. Okay, so like I met England watching V, which is like 81, and he played such a mousy. He was an alien in the movie, but he played like such a sweet guy. Almost like I guess like Data, but in the like the mindset of like a 6-year-old, just a very very sweet guy. And to see him playing Freddy Krueger was just ridiculous, off the chain. So if that's his line in that movie, 76, you said 74,
76.
76 was he likes to fuck. He's got range.
He's an actor, man. Like,
He's an actor.
you don't get a lot of actors, but
He's like Shakespearean.
he's real good. George, your next movie, as we alluded to by telling you specifically last episode.
We didn't pull any punches.
Yeah, your next movie is Nightmare on Elm Street Part 2. Now, you knew that going in. Where do they go from here? Like, how do you follow this
Ooh.
movie?
Good question. I didn't even think of that.
Well, let's spitball a little bit. Where do you think you go from here? Because I guarantee you're not going to guess.
There are no body jumpings. Or are there?
Lizards.
Where did the lizards
Lizard
go?
people.
Yeah, you're
They
off.
go to hell.
Okay. Well, I think maybe the pilot chair is
Think you just-
affecting your...
Yeah, I have no
Serious answer. Like, what do you think? Where is it going after what you watched?
Where does it go next? I honestly have no clue.
Where do you want it to go? If you were making the sequel, what would you do?
I got nothing, bro.
You should have asked him an hour ago.
I don't know. I honestly, I don't know.
Okay.
This was so different, dude. This is not.
Okay.
One thing that I did not say this movie was, which I normally do about lots of movies, is predictable.
Right.
It's not. I don't know. I mean, I guess more I'm thinking more of the same, but I don't know. Maybe more. I don't know. I have no idea.
There's a scene in this movie I just absolutely love. I can't wait to watch it again.
I can't wait, guys. Yeah. It's anyone who's seen the movie is just like, yep. And the rest of us are just like, what? But I'm excited.
I might go home and watch it tonight. You said it's on HBO Max?
Well, the first one's on HBO Max. I didn't check to see.
I gave George my copy.
Oh no.
We need to make sure before I leave. I'll have to bring it back.
Nah, just take it.
Buy a second copy.
Well, I have the whole set.
I'm gonna rent it
Ooh.
on Prime
Ooh.
and listen to it in my headphones like I did this one.
Okay. Then I will take it with me. You do not get it.
Travis can't ever be too far from his Nightmare 2.
Well, I have to watch it. It's been about 10 years.
That long, huh?
Yeah.
All right, thank you for joining us on the Remedial Film Class Podcast. As always, you can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/remedialfilmpod. You can also find us at Twitter and Instagram at remedialfilmpod. And you can email us at remedialfilmpod@gmail.com. If you're watching this on YouTube, be aware that we're also on every podcatcher imaginable. So, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon, we're on all those and more. And hey, if you're listening to this on a podcast platform, you're like, man, I sure wish I could look at static images of the movies they're talking about. Check us out on YouTube. We're also there, day and date. We'll see you back next week for A Nightmare on Elm Street Part 2, Freddy's Revenge.
Yo, on Monday, I started work in Haddonfield. And I ended the day
In Voorhees.
in Voorhees.
Nice.
No joke.
Nice. I realized something. We did not talk about something local in The Godfather.
What was it?
The Mushulu ship. I realized in Godfather 2, when young Victor Corleone
Victor?
arrives in New York City, the Mushulu...
Who's Victor?
I mean,
Isn't it
Vito.
Victor. Why did I say
What
Victor?
the fuck?
We're off to a
over.
bad
Scratch
start
that.
on this story.
Start over.
Godfather 2, when Vito Corleone arrives in New York City,
Yes.
the boat that crosses in front of the screen is the Mushulu.
The SS Victor. That's why you had that confused last time.
Oh, it's going to be one of those episodes, isn't it? Fuck. Speaking of that shit,
All right, one more time.
I'm going to start calling out Dan and Post, by the way.
And cut.
Because you don't get to have arguments on your own time.
Dan and Post is having fun, guys.
You know what's funny?
He's a surly bastard.
All right, let's put this in the podcast somewhere. This is, you know what Dan and Post is?
A dick.
No. You know what Dan and Post is?
What?
It's Dan having an argument with himself having an argument with imaginary Travis in the shower, and he's like, "Oh, that's what I'm going to
That's what I
record that.
shoulda
That's going to
said."
be a Dan and Post." So like, you know how like everyone has like arguments in their head in the shower and they like come up with like the best shit?
I should have said this.
Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
that's like Dan's got an outlet for that. It's called Dan and Post.
Dan and Post. But it's more malicious than that. He sits in
It's-
silence while we're talking.
Well, no, it's
And then
because he
he-
doesn't think of it until he's in the shower.
And then I hear him smirking. And then he hits me with Dan and Post. It's a little different. Because you notice there's like 10 minutes go by and he doesn't say anything. And then he moves on to the next thing. And he realizes he's just going to attack it in Dan and Post.
he's composing. He's like
Yeah.
taking notes and like
Yeah.
like
Dan and Post for
fiendishly
the
writing.
Shining,
Yeah,
out of control.
I should really listen to this podcast, huh?
It's a pretty
Yeah.
funny podcast. You would like it, George.
Yeah.
You should probably listen to your own fucking show. What are you, Johnny Depp? I ain't never seen any of my movies, man.
Yeah, kind of.